March 19th, we are approaching London Open. Good morning from Europe. Piotr here, Light Forex Global YouTube channel. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, guys. Many interesting things are going on with some additional liquidity, this time from European Central Bank. Dollar is getting weaker. The commodity currencies towards the end of the Tokyo session are trying to get back from nowhere, and Swiss National Bank as the next one. So plenty of interesting things. Let's start with the first chart. Let's start with the Australian dollar. So we have the further delay. Let's check what is going on there. All right. If you remember, guys, we were discussing Australian dollar just a moment ago, right? And previous videos, one of the previous videos was in relation to the Australian dollar as one of the pairs, and we were talking about the monthly possible demand zone. All right, so let me take off the background here. All right, so we were discussing about this, and we were discussing about the 55 level, or very close as a 50% of that range. And guess what? The minimum was 55.09, right? So we were pretty close, or we were dead right. And the bounce is going on since. Of course, from the medium-term perspective, this type of the Niagara Falls, it's not something you want to, put the money in the long term, some kind of the stabilization or signs of V formation, whatever, but not now. On the other hand, from the day trading perspective, that might be very interesting. So let's have a look what we have on the hourly chart. On the hourly chart, it looks like we have to move and close above 58, let's say 57.80, 58, and then only then we are going to have moved to the downside. We are going to have a base and rally. So either we are going to retest just 57.80, 57.60 and rally off that level, or we are going to retest that base and rally back from there, right? As of now, 57.80, 58.20, let's say, that's still supply, guys. That's still supply. So trying to visualize this stuff, that's still supply. So you may want to watch very carefully what's going to happen once we are going to test these levels. That's based on the hourly chart. Only move above retest or lower retest might bring the rally higher, right? For now, it's going to be like retest of the supply. But with that being said, let's have a look what we have on the Euro-Aussie, because that's what we have here is even more interesting. Huge upper shadow creation. So where we are? Well, that's the test of the very old consolidation. All right, and that's, let me make it a different way. That's probably 50% being tested. There you go, boom. And to be honest with you, in case of some kind of the stabilization, I do expect that from the intraday perspective, there are going to be more possibilities when it comes to Euro-Aussie, right? So let's have a look where we are. Let's place few lines yesterday, Wednesday, high. Right? Then today's daily open is where we might see some kind of the demand, all right? And weekly open is a key, because that's the demand I see here. Okay, now let's switch lower. Let's switch to the 15-minute chart, because that's where the things are getting very, very interesting. So we have this breakout candle being broken on 15-minute chart, right? So the base here, and that's the distance with it. It's like, well, 5-figure. It's 5-figure. So now it's time to make 5-figure to the downside, in my opinion, right? So what I'm gonna to look for, because it's so wide, even on the 15-minute chart, guys, right? What I'm gonna to look for, of course, I'm going to look for rejection of that base, all right, in case of the retest. That's the number one, right? But also, if we are going to take into the consideration the overnight price action after the break to the upside, if we are going to take into the consideration this price action, that might be case of the base, right? So if we are going to treat that as a base, because it's so wide, then 50%, and either I'm looking for 90 to 70 or 94.40 as a levels, zones, right, where I'm going to look to a fade. Looks like we might have some kind of the consolidation. Of course, the injection, the ECB repurchase, it's not gonna stop the coronavirus, right? That's what we discussed many times, right? But looks like, based on what we have on indices, I can imagine, I can visualize to myself another lower shadow today, right? With the higher possible close based on all those informations, right? And temporarily relief rally, dead cat bounce, short squeeze, short profit taking, whatever you wanna call it, right? Especially that when it comes to the Nasdaq, for example, right here on the daily chart, I'm not talking about monthly, we're discussing based on S&P, but here, guys, is additional thing I like. These lows been taken out, stops are done, so you know, relief rally 10% up could be in place, and has nothing to do with the coronavirus, if we have some positives or no, it's just simple market reaction. It is possible. So yesterday I've been talking about the possible short squeeze. It looks like it might come at some point. So Euro Aussie as a commodity currency going back from nowhere, Nasdaq as possible short squeeze, and finally Swiss franc, right? Ahead of the Swiss National Bank rate decision, V formation here, okay? Second upper shadow is being built, 1, 2, 1, all right, and possible supply zone being hit yesterday, right? But if the risk is going to have relief rally, so USD Swiss franc could see relief rally, right? But in case of the break to the upside here, I would rather, and stabilization with the risk, I would rather make my homework, and I would rather check either Aussie Swiss franc, right? The same as Euro Aussie, or even pound Swiss franc, because I think the pound has temporary low in place, but that's what we are going to get back into during our next update. So let's watch the London session and let's see if this stabilization could take place. Guys, it was my pleasure to make the update for you. Have a great London session and see you around. Goodbye.